How-to guide on Oracle Taleo interview management. There are two types of interview functionality within the Oracle Taleo recruiting module. You have standard interview scheduling, which is available in workflow steps designed with an interview reference model, gives you the ability to track date and time of an interview, allows you to designate interviewers. You have the ability to send requisition and candidate files to the interviewers. You have the ability to create customized notifications to interviewees with the date, the time, location, and any information around specific instructions. There is an ICS file that's sent with the notification so that the interview could be added to a calendar. It does require permissions in order to be able to set up scheduled interviews. The scheduling details and tracking can be found on the Candidate History tab. Once scheduled, the system will not allow you to move forward in your CSW workflow until the interview has taken place or has been canceled. Advanced interview scheduling is available at any point in the workflow through the Interview tab of the candidate file. It allows users to schedule one-on-one or panel-type interviews. You can schedule multiple one-on-one interviews in one session. When activated, you can utilize the free Busy functionality to view availability of internal participants. The free Busy functionality does require Taleo to have access into your Active Directory. The Taleo Interview Management Service will need a username and password to your Active Directory or Exchange server in order to pull down the availability for your internal users. There is not two-way communication, so Taleo is only able to display the free Busy information. If you wanted to add the meeting to an individual's calendar, they would have to use the ICS file that would be in the interview invitation, or you would have to do it outside of the Taleo system. Individuals are asked to accept or reject the meeting invite through an invitation email that's received. A status email is sent to the interview creator. It doesn't take any action to say that the meeting has been added to the individual's calendar. So although you get a notification that the person accepted the meeting through the invitation, it does not add that meeting to the individual's calendar. At the time of the interview creation, you can assign an evaluation management file if you're using evaluation management. That evaluation management link will then be included in the invite. Reminders will also be sent out about completing the evaluation if you're using that functionality. The evaluation management details can also be found on the Interview tab of the candidate file for any feedback requests sent. Next, we'll go into the system and walk through the two types of interview management. So I have my candidate, Ashley Richards. Ashley Richards is in our interview to be scheduled, so this is a step in our CSW that's tied to the interview reference model. For standard interview management, from the More Actions drop-down, I would select Schedule an Interview. The interview scheduling wizard will display. The subject is the job. The organizer is myself. This organizer can be changed, so if you're creating an interview on behalf of someone else. You would set your location, so here you're going to enter in your location details. You're going to set the time. So let's say we want this interview to take place on Monday, and we want it to be at, let's say we're going to do a 9 a.m. interview. You can also update the time zone. So if you're working Central or Eastern or however, you can set the appropriate time zone. You can say how long the interview should last for. You can also set reminders. So when the ICS file is opened and that interview schedule is saved to a calendar, it will also set the reminder so that that interview schedule will pop up with a reminder. And right now we have it set to 15 minutes prior to the interview. Next, I'm going to show the interviewers. By default, it's going to include the recruiter. I can also include the candidate. If I want to send a specific invitation to the candidate, I would check this box. I can select the notification, so you can have custom notifications that will go out to individuals, giving them details about the interview. You can select if you want a candidate file or the requisition file to be sent, and you can also include notes. If you want to update the candidate progression status, it's going to automatically go into scheduled if you have a scheduled status in your workflow. I'm going to select next. Now the system gives me an opportunity to review the information that I've set up to make sure everything is okay. If there's anything that needs to be changed, then I will use my previous button to go back to the previous screen where that change needs to be made. And then I would submit. This interview will be scheduled. If I needed to cancel the interview, then I can go into more details and cancel it. So next, I'm going to show you the advanced interview. So to access the advanced interview functionality, I'm going to select this interview tab. The screen is then going to refresh so that I can set up my interview. I'm going to select Create an Interview. Here I can select whether it's a one-on-one interview or a panel interview. If panel, it's going to ask me how many participants should be included for this panel interview. We're going to set up a one-on-one. You can also set up multiple one-on-ones. So if you're doing an interview day, and so there's going to be 3 different interviews, one after another, then I would change this to 3, and I can do it all with one interview scheduling process. I'm just going to say it's one interview, and I'm going to select to create. Once the system refreshes, then I will be able to update and add the remainder of my interview components. So here I can see my Ashley Richards interview 1. I can select my participants. So if I wanted to add participants, I can use my drop down to do so. I can also add external participants. So if there's external people that I want to add, individuals outside of my organization, I do have the ability to do that. So I'm going to add myself to the interview. So here I've added myself. I'm going to select Done. So now when I hit my drop down, I'm here as a participant. Here I'm going to set the date, the start time, and the end time. Because I have evaluation management activated in our demo zone, I can select if there is a questionnaire that I want to have included in this interview. Here I've set my time zone. I can put in my location information. Okay. If I was utilizing the free busy functionality, here, based on the participants that I've selected, the system would then display the free busy for that individual or those individuals. We're not using the free busy, so we can disregard that. Here, I can enter in any specific notes for the participants. So if there's something I want the participants to know, I can enter that in here. I can also determine if I want to do file sharing. So if I want to share the candidate file or the requisition file. It also allows me to attach or share any attachments that have been included as part of this candidate's file. Once I have completed setting up my interview schedule, I would then select Save and Close. And now my interview is scheduled. Again, notifications will go out as part of the interview scheduling process. My recruiter account would get an email saying, do I want to accept or reject the interview? I can accept. A notification will come back to me, the creator, saying that LaToya has accepted the interview. Remember that that does not add the interview to the individual's calendar. That would have to be done manually or through the ICS file that would be sent as part of the interview invitation. I will also get reminders as it pertains to my interview, and also included would be a link to my interview management questionnaire that I tied to our interview. You can create multiple interviews. So I have interview 1. I can create an additional interview. So let's say I wanted to do another one-on-one interview. I want to add participants. I would go through that process again. The system would then add that interview in addition to the interview that I have scheduled. Just to show you, here's a copy of the email that goes out to my participants internally. Okay. Here's the link that I would click on to say whether or not I wanted to participate in the interview. Here is the screen. I'm going to say that I accept. I can also request to reschedule the interview and enter in comments around when I would want to reschedule it for. I'm going to accept the interview and send the response. I do get a confirmation letting me know that my interview response has been received. Just going to refresh Ashley's file. Go back into Ashley Richards. Go into my interview tab, and I can see how the status has been updated to accepted for this interview. Once I have completed my evaluation questionnaire, if one has been added, it will display here. Once an interview has been completed, I will be able to see those details here. So the history of that will continue to display. I can see what questionnaires have been attached to my requisition, so what's available to be attached to my interview, and the participants of this interview. As the administrator or the individual who set up the interview, I get my notification letting me know that I have accepted the interview, so I'm good to go there. Also, as the individual that is going to be a participant in the interview, I also get my confirmation. Here's my ICS file that I can then add to my calendar. If anything changes, the system will give me an interview URL that I can go in and let the scheduler know that something has changed. And then here's the link to the evaluation that I included in my interview schedule. Okay. When I add my ICS file to my calendar, the ICS file will also have these links so that I can, at any point, go to that interview that I've added to my calendar, either request a change of schedule, or I have access to the link so that I can complete the evaluation of the candidate. Thank you.